Seriously?
Interpreting it.
You're going to bring up my dad? You're here attacking a member of the United States Supreme Court on grounds that are frivolous, on grounds that have been rejected by two different iterations of the Judicial Committee that you're talking about. Twice rejected, and you have the audacity to come in here and invoke the memory of my late father? Mr. Chairman, I'd note at the outset, I'm concerned by the tone and tenor of this hearing. It feels an awful lot like a political witch hunt, which may be in the process of being aided and abetted by a member of the judiciary. After reading the letters from Senator Whitehouse, the responses from the Administrative Office of the courts, and news articles, this appears certainly like sour grapes, or perhaps some combination of sour grapes and a political witch hunt. We've got people who are trying desperately to make a lot out of something that isn't there. And I'd like to offer into the record, Mr. Chairman, a letter from the Secretary of the Financial Disclosure Committee, indicating that two iterations of the committee and two subcommittees found that there was no willful violation by Justice Thomas.
May 15th letter?
Yes, this is the May 15th letter. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what letter is that, please?
A letter dated May 15th to me from the Honorable Rosalind R. Mouskopf, answering letters that I had sent April 21st, 27th, and May 5th.
Judge Wolf, how was the press, and specifically Bloomberg News, Bloomberg News reporter Zoe Tillman, able to review your August 2012 letter to a group of Judicial Conference colleagues? How did that happen?
I do not know. She sent me an email asking if I would speak to her, and I communicated that I declined.
Doesn't the timing of this seem a little odd? I mean, this is something that occurred 11 years ago, and days before this hearing, it magically appears. Did you leak a copy of the letter?
No.
To Ms. Tillman? Did you leak it to anyone else who may have given it to Ms. Tillman?
No, and actually, of course, I've thought about that question too, and you'll excuse me if I say something that may be supportive of all of you. I had not given those letters to any senator, any member of his or her staff. The administrative office would have these records.
Who did you give them to?
Nobody.
No one.
Correct. And Mr. Lee, I worked closely with your father when he was the Assistant Attorney General for the Civil Division, and I was Attorney General Levy's liaison to him. I think your father would have been very disturbed by the matters that I've addressed, A, and B, would have engaged, and I would have thought that members of the Senate from both parties would be concerned about whether the judiciary and anybody else was properly
Seriously?
interpreting it.
You're going to bring up my dad? You're here attacking a member of the United States Supreme Court on grounds that are frivolous, on grounds that have been rejected by two different iterations of the Judicial Committee that you're talking about. Twice rejected, and you have the audacity to come in here and invoke the memory of my late father? It's shame on you, sir. Okay, look, you submit a statement to this committee. It's a lengthy statement. Contains 122 footnotes. On page 2, you state that you're testifying, quote, as an individual and not as a representative of the Judicial Conference of the United States or the federal judiciary, close quote. Did your law clerks help you draft this?
Yes.
Who else helped you draft it? Who else was involved in the drafting of it?
Just my law clerks, although I did consult one of my colleagues about it.
Okay, so you're not here on behalf of the conference, and yet you used judicial resources to do it, and you consulted one of your colleagues to do it, and you're speaking solely in your capacity as someone who served on the committee, and so you're purporting to speak for the committee.
No, I'm not. I said I'm speaking. when I was invited first to be interviewed, I thought by Senator Kennedy, who declined to meet with me, but I did meet with his staff. And then when I was invited to testify, I immediately informed the Administrative Office of United States Courts. I was familiar with the guidance, again, not public. The judges are free to speak. The Canon 4, as you saw when you read my piece, encourages judges to speak on matters relating to the administration of justice when they have experience or expertise. And the only thing that the administrative office said to me was, be sure to point out that you're testifying as an individual, which I had already done in what I was drafting. And if I wanted any ethical guidance, it mentioned who to call.
Okay.
But
Senator
canons,
Durbin?
I'm sorry, are vividly clear, and there wasn't any open issue on which to consult.
Yeah.
Senator
And
Durbin.
yet you're here speaking in that capacity based on your service on that committee, notwithstanding the fact that your motion to have it considered by the full conference as to your suggestion that Justice Thomas's disclosures were willfully wrong was rejected.